She didn't call a press conference. She didn't give an interview. She didn't post a single caption on social media explaining herself. But make no mistake, Tom Cruise's daughter has broken her silence in the most powerful way possible. Not with words. With her life. Her name is no longer Suri Cruise. It is Suri Noel. And that single, quiet decision has sent shockwaves through Hollywood, through tabloids, and through the hearts of millions of people who watched this little girl grow up in the arms of the world's biggest movie star, and then watched her disappear from his world entirely. This is her story. And for the first time, the full picture is coming into focus. When Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes welcomed their daughter Suri on April 18, 2006, the entire planet took notice. This was not an ordinary birth announcement. Tom Cruise was arguably the most famous actor alive. Katie Holmes was the beloved girl next door from Dawson's Creek, who had once told a magazine, as a teenager, that her dream was to marry Tom Cruise. And now here they were, married, and holding a baby girl who would become one of the most photographed children in Hollywood history. Tom couldn't contain his joy. He described Suri's birth as the happiest day of his life. He spoke about her with an almost desperate adoration, calling her a miracle, lifting her above his head on red carpets, beaming at her with the kind of unguarded love that surprised even people who had known him for years. For a man famous for his composure and control, Suri cracked him wide open. For a few years, the images were everywhere. Tom and Suri in New York. Tom and Suri in Paris. That little girl with her dark hair and enormous eyes. Always dressed beautifully, always held close. She was the living symbol of a love story that the whole world had watched unfold, the couch jumping, the castle wedding in Italy, the Hollywood fairy tale that seemed almost too perfect to be real. On June 29, 2012, Katie Holmes filed for divorce. The timing was precise and deliberate, just days before Tom's 50th birthday. Tom himself later admitted it blindsided him completely. In a rare moment of vulnerability, he said simply, "It hit me hard. Life can do that to you." What the public didn't fully understand at the time was the scale of the planning that had gone into this moment. Katie had spent months preparing in secret. She switched cell phones so her conversations couldn't be monitored. She hired new security staff and replaced household employees she no longer trusted. She brought in her own legal team, led quietly in the background by her father, Martin Holmes, a lawyer who knew exactly what he was doing. She chose to file in New York rather than California, a strategic decision that favored the parent seeking sole custody. And she moved swiftly, knowing that speed was her greatest ally. The divorce was finalized in just 11 days, one of the fastest. Celebrity divorces in Hollywood history. Tom agreed to pay $400,000 per year in child support, covering Suri's needs until she turned 18, including health insurance and education costs. But money was never what Katie was fighting for. She wanted something far more valuable, the right to raise her daughter outside the reach of Scientology. Court documents and later interviews made clear that Katie feared what path Suri might be guided down as she grew older, the same path Tom's two adopted children with Nicole Kidman, Bella and Connor, had followed into the deepest levels of the church. Katie refused to let that happen. She packed up her daughter and moved to New York City. And from that day forward, the world of Tom Cruise and the world of Suri Cruise existed on entirely separate planets. After the divorce, confirmed sightings of Tom and Suri together essentially stopped. Their last documented public outing was a trip to a Disney water park in Florida in August 2012, just months after the split. After that, nothing. No photographs. No confirmed visits. No birthday celebrations caught on camera. For over a decade, one of Hollywood's most famous fathers and his youngest daughter were strangers to the public eye, and by most credible accounts, to each other as well. Tom buried himself in work. Mission, Impossible sequels, Top Gun, Maverick, world press tours, stunts that defied gravity and common sense. Every new film brought a new spectacle, a new reason for the world to cheer. But while the cameras followed Tom across the globe, Suri was living a quieter, more grounded life in Manhattan with her mother, attending private school, taking dance classes, going to parks and coffee shops and living, as much as possible, like a normal kid. Those who knew her described a young woman who was bright, warm, and surprisingly down-to-earth for someone born into such extraordinary circumstances. Katie shielded her fiercely. No red carpets. No press. No performance of celebrity. Just a mother determined to give her daughter the childhood she deserved, even if it meant carrying the weight of a very complicated story largely alone. Publicly, Tom stopped mentioning Suri. The daughter he had once called his miracle had vanished from his public narrative entirely. The silence on both sides became its own kind of statement. In the spring of 2024, Suri appeared in the program for her senior musical at New York's LaGuardia High School of Music and Art and Performing Arts, the prestigious school that inspired the film fame. She played Morticia Addams in The Addams Family, a new musical. And the name printed in that program was not Suri Cruise. It was Suri Noel. The choice of the name, Noel, was deeply meaningful. It is her mother's middle name, and also her maternal grandmother's middle name, a deliberate rooting of her identity in the women who raised her and loved her, rather than in the name of a father who had been absent from her life for years. In June 2024, Suri graduated from LaGuardia High School. The name on the official graduation list, Suri Noel. Katie Holmes was there in the crowd, clapping and quietly crying with the other parents. Tom Cruise was not. He was photographed that same weekend at a Taylor Swift concert in London. The contrast was painful, and it did not go unnoticed. That fall, Suri began her freshman year at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, one of the most respected universities in the country, renowned for its drama school. She arrived without fanfare. Katie helped her move into her dorm, carrying boxes herself, no cameras, no entourage. Just a mother and her daughter, doing what millions of ordinary families do every August. Whether Suri has legally changed her name remains publicly unknown. But the message she has sent with her choices is unmistakable. She is building a life, an identity, and a future on her own terms, and the name Tom Cruise carries no place in it. Meanwhile, Tom has not been standing still. Sources close to him say that the absence of Suri weighs on him more heavily than any professional setback, any failed marriage, or any public controversy. In early 2026, following his reported split from actress Ana de Armas in October 2025, insiders began telling outlets that Tom has made reconnecting with Suri his most personal priority. A source close to the actor told one outlet, "Tom is at a point where finding some sense of peace has become more important than his ego. He has been taking stock of his life, and the absence that troubles him most is his relationship with Suri. He feels now is the moment to make another attempt." The same source noted that Tom intends to approach any potential reconciliation entirely on Suri's terms, with no pressure and no expectations, simply leaving a door open that she is free to walk through if and when she chooses. His older children, Bella and Connor, both devoted Scientologists, reportedly worry that Tom could be hurt if Suri keeps the door firmly closed. But Tom has reportedly told those close to him that he will accept whatever Suri decides. As one insider put it, he's very clear that if she isn't ready, he'll accept that and step back. But he's hoping that this time will be different, that she's now at a stage in life where she is ready to forge an adult relationship with him. The irony is not lost on anyone who has followed this story. Here is a man who has hung off the side of aircraft, climbed the Burj Khalifa, and ridden motorcycles off cliff tops. A man who has declared publicly that nothing is impossible. And yet the most important mission of his life may be the one he cannot complete through sheer force of will. Because this mission requires someone else's permission. It requires a 20-year-old woman in Pittsburgh to decide that she is ready to see him. And so far, she has not decided that. Suri Noel is now 20 years old. She is a sophomore at Carnegie Mellon, immersed in the school's world-class drama program, studying acting and music alongside classmates who have no idea what it cost her to simply become herself. She has already lent her voice to 2 film soundtracks, both directed by her mother. She sang on the soundtrack of Katie's 2022 film Alone Together, and again for Rare Objects in 2023, a film Katie dedicated on screen entirely to her daughter. In 2025, Suri visited the set of Katie's new film Happy Hours in New York, poised, self-assured, dressed simply, carrying the quiet confidence of someone who has learned early what truly matters. She was barely recognizable to the cameras that occasionally caught a glimpse of her. And that perhaps is exactly the point. Katie Holmes, for her part, has spoken about her daughter with the kind of measured, glowing pride that makes clear what kind of relationship they have built together. "She's an incredible person," Katie has said. "She's my heart. She has made clear that her greatest achievement in life is not any film she has made or any role she has played. It is the strong, independent, grounded young woman her daughter has become. There are some stories that get told in interviews, and there are some stories that get told in the way a person lives. Suri Noel has chosen the second kind. She has not spoken publicly about her father. She has not given the tearful interview, the social media post, the carefully worded statement that the tabloids have been waiting for. She has done something far more powerful. She has built a life so full, so grounded, and so entirely her own that his absence is simply a fact, not a wound she needs to perform for anyone. She changed her name. She chose her school. She sang on her mother's films. She carried out the trash at her mom's apartment in Manhattan on a summer afternoon, wearing a floral tank top and jeans, looking completely at ease. She showed up to her mother's film set looking like a young woman who knows exactly who she is. That is her statement. That is her silence broken. And for the man who once called her his miracle, the man who is now, by all accounts, hoping for a second chance, her message is clear, even if it was never spoken aloud. She does not need rescuing. She does not need his last name. She does not need Hollywood, or Scientology, or any of the forces that once tried to write her story for her. She is Suri Noel. She is 20 years old, and she is just getting started. And so far, she has not decided that. Suri Noel is now 20 years old. She is a sophomore at Carnegie Mellon, immersed in the school's world-class drama program, studying acting and music alongside classmates who have no idea what it cost her to simply become herself. She has already lent her voice to 2 film soundtracks, both directed by her mother. She sang on the soundtrack of Katie's 2022 film Alone Together, and again for Rare Objects in 2023, a film Katie dedicated on screen, entirely to her daughter. In 2025, Suri visited the set of Katie's new film Happy Hours in New York, poised, self-assured, dressed simply, carrying the quiet confidence of someone who has learned early what truly matters. She was barely recognizable to the cameras that occasionally caught a glimpse of her. And that, perhaps, is exactly the point. Katie Holmes, for her part, has spoken about her daughter with the kind of measured, glowing pride that makes clear what kind of relationship they have built together. She's an incredible person, Katie has said. She's my heart. She has made clear that her greatest achievement in life is not any film she has made or any role she has played. It is the strong, independent, grounded young woman her daughter has become. There are some stories that get told in interviews, and there are some stories that get told in the way a person lives. Suri Noel has chosen the second kind. She has not spoken publicly about her father. She has not given the tearful interview, the social media post, the carefully worded statement that the tabloids have been waiting for. She has done something far more powerful. She has built a life so full, so grounded, and so entirely her own that his absence is simply a fact, not a wound she needs to perform for anyone. She changed her name. She chose her school. She sang on her mother's films. She carried out the trash at her mom's apartment in Manhattan on a summer afternoon, wearing a floral tank top and jeans, looking completely at ease. She showed up to her mother's film set looking like a young woman who knows